Hey everyone, welcome to Tent Talk, the Farmers Market podcast. This podcast is all about farmers markets. Whether you're a farmers market manager or a small farmer or food maker selling at farmers markets, you have found just the right podcast.
I'm Kat Fields-White.
And I'm Bridget Myers. We're longtime farmers market managers, educators, and consultants. Today, we're going to chat about how farmers, vendors, and market managers can boost each other's social media impact.
Today's episode of Tent Talk, the Farmers Market podcast, is supported by Intense, the 8th annual multinational farmers market conference, starting 1 week from today in San Diego and live online. It's almost, but not quite, too late to register to join us in San Diego or online with other virtual attendees to gain all the valuable insights on making your market less stressful and more financially stable. Those are kind of the same things, right? All in-person and virtual attendees receive access to conference recordings after the event. So even if you can't make the trip or be glued to your computer for 3 full days, it's worth it to click the register button today on the homepage at farmersmarketpros.com and reserve your ticket now.
Well, welcome back to Tent Talk, everybody. Whether you're a food maker, market manager, small farmer, or artisan crafter, how many hours a day are you or someone on your team spending posting on social media? And how's your return on investment of that time? Discuss.
Let's discuss. Actually, as a mature business person.
As a wise owl business person.
I remember when there wasn't any really far-reaching form of marketing and advertising that you didn't have to pay for directly, whether it was postcards or brochures that you'd pay to snail mail. Sorry, postal workers, no offense. We love you. Not so snail. Actually, I love snails. That's the other thing. I say that affectionately. Or ads you'd have to design and place and pay for in newspapers and magazines. There just wasn't a way to get, kind of reach out to the world without payment.
Exactly. And there were those kind of vehicles to get those advertisements out, though. It was, you had to pay to play, and then someone would do the work for you, gave them your art and everything, and then they would push that information out for you. But it was all something you'd have to pay for.
That's right. Mm-hmm. Now, I remember when Facebook or Instagram, one of them went down a few years ago, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is great. I don't have to deal with this today. And then I thought, ooh, shoot, how are we going to advertise again now? Do we have to go back to paying for ads? No, that's terrible.
Yeah, it would be hard to kind of revert back to that, even though some of us came from a time when social media wasn't a thing. But yeah, I mean, and it's great now that that's available. So it's good, to have both and I don't know if anyone's doing a lot of print ad marketing.
We do a little still.
Yeah, we do. We have our ad in the reader.
Yeah, we do mostly niche. So really focused. If you have a community newspaper, like we're doing ads now for our new smaller market in a local Filipino newspaper, because there's a big population there that loves our fishermen that brings whole fish and our Filipino vendors and that kind of thing. So really targeted niche print ads, I think, are still really valuable.
For sure. And I think they're so valuable. And I would say if I was growing a market, I feel I'm always growing the markets, but our markets are kind of long established and I'm not really in that super, super growth mode right now. But definitely in markets that we've run in the past, I would definitely get those neighborhood newsletters.
Well, we're still in downtown news for the Mercado, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that big flashy billboardy thing that we pay to be at the pier, at the convention center pier.
Yeah, so it's kind of a good idea to have a mix of advertising under your belts because, like you said, if something goes down, even if it's, a print ad like company that goes down or Facebook or whatever, it's good to kind of not have all of your eggs in one basket.
That's true.
So to use a farmer's market term.
Still, social media can have an amazing reach at a cost that can't be beat. It's free. Yep. Except for all those hours and hours of working on it, which are not necessarily free, or working on it or paying someone to work on it.
I think that's what is really a big misconception just in general in businesses, and also probably very much so with farmers markets, because we have small teams, or maybe you're in a market where it's just you running it. And so you think, okay, well, social media is free, so I'll just post on social media. It'll be a great mechanism. But it takes so much time to come up with content and get the right story and message across. And like
find that photo
like we're going to discuss in this episode. But I've definitely changed my thought about how much time, and time is money, so how much money it takes to really be a part of this free advertising, which is social media.
For sure.
Mm-hmm.
So you can do that yourself, or you can hire someone. But I mean, it's a little bit tough to hire someone like a professional social media person, I feel like, with markets, because it's really tough to capture your markets or your farm or food business's real personality if you're not on the farm or at the market. It's really hard to capture that, I feel like.
Yeah, and we're in one of those businesses where things are changing. Even if your vendors are the same, it's like crops are changing because seasons change. What vendors bring to the market might be tweaked and adjusted and changed, and new items might be brought because we're at the farmer's market. That's the whole point, is that we're so fluid and vendors can change a lot quicker than maybe grocery store shelves. And definitely like retail shops where it's like you order everything and you know what's going to be on the shelf, so you have a little more lead time. There's not that lead time really with farmers markets because it's very in the moment. I mean, there's definitely things that are going to be there or consistent product, but to post like new and exciting things, you have to be there and you have to see it with your own eyes. You have to get that information from the source, like talk to your farmers and vendors about what is this product, what's great about it, what's the message we should be conveying on social media about these items that are at the market, and also just the crowd at the market, the weather at the market, the staff, the neighboring businesses, like all of those things are really just in-person
People shop at farmers markets because it's personal. That's exactly why they come, is because they get to know the people that produce their food or their gifts, or, they're shopping from local businesses very deliberately. And so hiring a professional social media manager that knows how to do a beautiful product shot, not exactly the point with us.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, I think all markets kind of have their own vision of what they want their story to look like on social media. I know that we like a more like organic, again, to use a farmer's market word, but just kind of like this person is at the market and that's where this picture came from. Right. And not we did a photo shoot one day and we're going to use these photos forever. So, but that's tough. But that's harder to be there every week and getting new photos. And that takes more time and effort. So, and consistency, really.
Yeah. So if you're going to pay somebody to do it, I feel like that can work really well if it's a staff member that you designate and plan to pay them some extra hours to do the social media stuff. You've had really good luck with that lately. It's been amazing. It's perfect because she's there at all the markets, so she can talk to market people, and she gets our funny staff involved in the videos that she dreams up and things. I mean, younger team members really get a chance to shine here if you can assign one of them, because, raise your hand if you're over 35 and you're regularly on TikTok. It's, I feel like our younger team really has a handle on the pulse. That's not that's not a real saying, but you know what I mean? They're on it. They know what the next hot social media is, and they're right there. I mean, at some point you have to you don't have to, but many of us stop learning the new ones. So I'm pretty good at Instagram. I'm good at Facebook. I don't know how many more social media channels I can take on, but our younger staff members, I mean, that's where they are. It's where it's hot.
Yeah, it's kind of where they're living their life at the moment. And even though I spend a fair amount of time on social media, I'm on there. I post on my personal pages and I engage with my friends and my family on social media. It's not where I want to spend all of my time. And it's because it takes me longer to figure out the trends and to find the trending music and to go take, just the right photo and get out there and be there consistently and kind of line things up consistently. It just makes more sense for, a staff member to do it for us. I mean, bless you, Caitlin. This has just been a godsend.
She's the best.
It just kind of occurred to me that she would be really great at this. She was on our staff for years, and I just was feeling very overwhelmed with social and trying to find different avenues for that. And just said, hey, do you want to give this a shot? And she has like a little marketing background. And I mean, she's not a little marketing background. She has a marketing background. So that was really helpful for her. And we just had like long discussions. We had meetings. We have regular kind of like check-ins about, is this a story that you want to tell? And she's very good about taking direction or taking like, oh, when you posted that wasn't really what we want to post, or, next time, can you tell this part of the story with this photo or video? So she's great at taking it.
And we'd established a tone, and we had actual written guidelines and social media protocols that she could rely on too. And I think that's important rather than just letting them go completely wild. If you're starting with a new staff member, give them an outline, give them some parameters, these are the things we don't talk about because, it offends our partners, or remember that we're representing a lot of times not just us as managers, but a bigger association, a business district or something. So you have to be careful what tone you take.
Yeah, just kind of explaining that, and even you don't have to explain every nuance to whoever's doing your social media, but just give them like a tone to take. Like, this is the personality that we're conveying. I want it to be real. I want it to be like your experience. They'll have a different lens on the market than you do. I mean, I've learned about our vendors and items just through her social media lens, which has been so great. So yeah, but just kind of making sure you have an outline. Our social media protocols was actually really helpful for me to always use as a guideline when I was doing social, just because it's just so exhausting to come up with content and to remember what's the framework for this. And so referring back to that kind of outline and guidelines, if you're doing your social yourself for your own market, establish that for yourself. Even if you don't have anybody to hand it to, I say go ahead and get that done and get it for yourself, follow that protocol. And then, if the opportunity comes up where you have someone that can take it over, it's already established and you've already kind of tweaked the outline so it's, ready to hand over to somebody. It's been really helpful over the years.
Yeah, because we had a basic outline of what percentage of our posts should be about farmers, because we're very farm forward markets, and what percentage do you not want to go over in terms of this category or that category. And remember seasonality, so don't go posting apples in, the middle of summer or sometime that they're not in season here. And heaven forbid, don't do what many hired social media managers do in our area and post pictures of bananas.
Exactly. Yeah. So being really direct about where I want the source of the photos to come from, that I want them to be current, like taken recently photos, or if you're going to use a photo from last season, just double checking everything about it. If you're posting a photo of produce with a price sign in it, making sure that those prices are still accurate if you're using a photo from last season, because I reuse photos all the time. I have amazing photos of beets and cauliflower and oranges that are just, have a tent as context behind them. But if it has a vendor or farmer sign in it, it has a price, I'm very careful to make sure I don't post it, because they may have increased their prices since then. Or maybe they have their items bundled differently. And so I don't, then it kind of gets into like a false advertising situation. So just making sure that those things are spelled out so that they can be on the lookout for that.
For sure. Mm-hmm. And then once they have that, those parameters and those guidelines, the right person can come up with ideas that we'd never think of. And she comes up with amazing stuff, the Caitlin that you're using now, and she executes them brilliantly. Like, I would never have thought to have another staffer. She did that long pan shot where he ran all the way up the market to welcome back a vendor that had been gone for a while. That was adorable, and it just wouldn't have occurred to me.
Yeah. She definitely uses our other staff, mostly Denny, as her
talent.
Her talent. She's Denny's manager, her talent manager. But she's great at pulling in other vendors and staff and just coming up with these ideas just based on, I think, her experience. I think Caitlin was excited that vendor was coming back, and so she just made a reel about it. So that makes it really authentic, because she actually buys their product every week and enjoys it and cooks with it. And so it wasn't a marketing tool. It was that she was excited that they were back, and our other baker as well, who was in that video. And they had both been out for 2 weeks. Both of our main bakers were out of the market for 2 weeks. I'm like, did you guys plan this to punk me? Yeah. But so it was great. So then you have that kind of authentic, and then it got a great response because it was authentic.
Right.
Yeah,
for sure. So talking about vendors and markets working as a team, that got great response for our market, but it also got great response for those two bakers because they reposted it. So let's talk about some nuts and bolts that make working together and amplifying each other's posts easier.
For sure. Yeah, it's definitely always valuable and time-saving to repost someone else's work if it's reusable, because like we've said, and like anyone who's tried to do social media on their own, coming up with content is exhausting. It seems so, I've tried to explain this to my husband, he's like, why are you always on your phone? I'm like, I'm doing social media posts. He's like, one post? I'm like, yeah, sometimes it takes 2 hours, and it's it doesn't occur to people that don't do that, but it is exhausting. And plus you just get brain smash where you're just can't think of anything. It's like when you're trying to come up with what to cook for dinner. It's you can cook dinner and you do eat food, but coming up with that stuff is just impossible sometimes. And that's how social media can feel for sure. So if you have vendors and farmers that are posting great content that you can just reshare, chef's kiss.
Yeah. For sure. And same thing with the farmers and the vendors. I know that our hot sauce guys repost the farmers' posts about peppers and tomatoes and that kind of thing. And that's hugely helpful. Vice versa.
Yep.
So all that synchronized stuff can work out so well if you give each other easy things to work with. So videos and reels are easy to repost to our stories, not to our feed, but to our stories, as long as you tag us, right? I mean, that's what makes it easy to add it to my story. It's hard for me to take your story and add it to my story if you haven't tagged me. It's difficult to impossible, right? I could be missing something technically, but I think
there's an app that you can download to download people's videos, but it's pain.
All right.
Yeah. Make it easier. Easy. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you're going to do stories, we'll happily amplify it to our following is typically, at our big market especially, much larger than any individual farmer or vendor's following is. And we can amplify that if you tag us.
Yep.
So is there a trick to tagging?
I mean, kind of like a little pro tip that I share with our vendors too is sometimes they won't tag us and stuff. And I'll say, hey, like tag us in that reel. And it's just kind of a general about their product that they're bringing to the markets this weekend. So they're not really talking about a specific market really, but it's really relevant to our shoppers. And they're like, well, we're going to be at multiple markets, so we don't want to like tag everybody on top of each other. And I go, you can just put it in a really like tiny font. I use like that cursive font. It's really hard to read. And so the tag exists in the post, but the customer or your viewers are not seeing who you're tagging, but then I can reshare it really easily.
Right, for sure.
So that's a good thing, like a little hidden tag. Or just say, hey, come see us at the Little Italy Mercado. Instead of spelling out Little Italy Mercado, just tag us. Yeah. And so your followers can come to our market page because we have the address and the hours and all the information that they need to get to the market really easily. And also we can reshare it.
For sure. So those tags are so important. Now, when you're talking about tagging a whole bunch of different markets, that's cool if you're doing it the way you're talking about, which is really tiny tags. That we could easily reshare. If what you've done is part of your whole point of your story or your reel is that you're putting in a big list of what markets you're at that week and where they are and what time they are and what day they are. If I've got a market on Sunday and you're listing 4 other Sunday markets in different communities, I'm not going to repost that because it's my job, both philosophically and what I get paid for by our business districts and things, to be promoting this market, these vendors that are paying me to be there, this business district that hosts this market. So I can't post other events that are happening at the same time and promote somebody leaving my neighborhood to go to a different market and to see maybe vendors that aren't in my market. That's kind of the opposite of what my job is. So if you want to post a big post that has very specific information on the markets you're at, if you have time, do a separate one for each market. You'll get a lot more traction. Those markets will be able to repost you much more.
Yeah. And definitely kudos if you're a vendor posting about which markets you're going to be at.
Thank you.
Thank you. If you have to do a list because you don't have time to do individual, do a list. Go forth and prosper. Like, please post where you're going to be that weekend.
For sure.
For the love of Pete. So appreciate that. But from a farmer's market manager standpoint, if those posts aren't being shared by your market manager and you're wondering why, that's probably why.
That's why.
Then I'm not going to share a list of other markets that are not mine, just, because duh. So,
yeah. For sure.
Yeah.
Your logo laid into the reel, we're probably not going to repost that because that looks like an ad.
Yeah.
The whole idea is to have an organic, kind of friendly sort of post. So I can't post an individual vendor's logo in a photo because that's more of an advertisement. If you're doing a story that has really explicit music or inappropriate music to the tone of the market, I'm probably not going to repost it.
Yeah.
That's not going to happen. So think about your music. I love a good rap song. I don't even mind. My kids and grandkids have trained me now to not even mind like a hell of a lot of cussing in music. But
Cat loves
I'm not going
Tupac.
to, in a business environment, I'm not going to repost it.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I mean, and sometimes our vendors like just have an edgy, like that's their business kind of vibe, which is like, that's great. I love that. I love our edgy vendors. But just our market that's not our vibe. That's not our like tone on social media. And so when you're thinking about, I hope that the market manager shares this, just think about maybe like matching their tone a little bit, like meeting halfway at least, have the radio edit version of that song as your background music. So, but just think about, what is the market manager going to reshare?
Right. And I'm sharing again for our business districts and our community associations and things. So I have to be careful about that. On that same note, sometimes it's not the music. Sometimes it's just the tone of the video. We recently had a vendor that did a beautiful video. I mean, it was truly beautiful. It was almost like cinematography. It was so nice, but it was a young woman coming out of the door with a bunch of product. I think they were advertising a barbecue sauce. And she came out of the door. She was very scantily dressed. She went to a grill. She was throwing meat on the grill, and it was sort of these close-ups that were just, I'm sure that got a lot of attention. But it was...
a little more like Carl's Jr. advertisement vibe.
Yeah, it was sort of seductive.
Yeah.
And it just wasn't something that I could post on our Downtown Business Association's farmers market.
Yeah, so do two.
account. So
Maybe do two reels.
Yeah.
Do one for your vibe and your customer base, which is wonderful, and to get shared and all that stuff, and use that creative juice to do those. And then just do like a little more like toned down version so that it gets shared by maybe the groups that you're participating with. Yes.
Yeah, for sure.
We don't want to censor anybody, but
for sure.
Various versions.
You do you, but if you're looking for people to share, or if you're wondering why we're not sharing some of your stuff, sometimes it just doesn't go with our vibe.
Yeah.
So, keep that in mind. Maybe do a couple of different kind of vibes. I have gotten very specific in terms of emailing my vendors and asking them, please post a still photo now again.
Yeah.
Because we know that reels and videos are good for the algorithm and all that stuff. But if I want to include your product in my newsletter or in my feed versus my stories, and I need a good photo of your product and I don't have one handy, what I will do is go to your Instagram and see if you have one, and I'll grab it, I'll screenshot it, and then I can use it in a lot of different places to spread the word about your product. But if you've only posted reels or only posted videos, I spend a lot of time watching those and trying to quickly get a screenshot of a moving picture and make it a picture that I can post in my feed, but a lot of times I just can't do it. So I've had some vendors where I've emailed them and said, hey, do me a favor, do a couple of posts that are still photos. Those are beautiful photos in your reel, but I can't capture those. Do a couple of posts that are still photos, and I'll use them and amplify them. So think about that if your market manager hasn't told you that. Help us out.
Yeah, help me help you. I think that's really helpful too, because I've been lately asking our vendors like, hey, maybe try taking a photo of like you in your booth or what your booth looks like your branded tent, because what you're doing is you're telling shoppers what to look for when they're at the market. Because I'll notice some of our vendors are never even showing their market tent, what their display looks like, what the owner looks like inside the market booth. And so when folks are coming out to the market to maybe search them out, we do a lot of, hey, I'm looking for this vendor. Where are they? Like that's who people come to the info booth. And we're just constantly directing people to where to find certain vendors because they're there to find certain product, or, they get excited about something that they maybe saw on social media or a friend told them about. But having a photo of you or your staff in your market booth at the market is just such an easy visual when you come to a market, which can sometimes be like overstimulating. You want to say, hey, this is what my market booth looks like. I have a green branded tent. Like I have this, little flag that sticks out. Or my tent is really plain and it's white, but like this is what my staff looks like. This is what our display looks like. This is our product, our menu board. And just give people a direction, because there's so much going on at a market. I think vendors forget, like, oh, people will just show up and they'll find me. Well,
they do show up.
They do show up, but then they're going to find something else because they can't find you because they don't know what your booth looks like. So we don't have like a public-facing map for our vendors. I know some markets do, and that's super helpful as well. But just give those folks a visual of your actual tent. That has just really, really helped some folks.
So smart. That's a really, really good tip. Salesy posts and beautiful product shots are great, but in terms of us sharing and amplifying your posts, something more casual, something that seems captured at the market, something that has some market context, like you're saying, the tent itself or your display is much more easy for us to repost. It's just more relevant to what we're doing.
Yeah. And salesy posts that include how shoppers can come see you at the farmer's market, but also they can get 10% off if they shop online. Also not something I'm going to share, because
I'm not going to share that.
I very much love to see our farmers grow and succeed and venture out into other revenue avenues for them, selling online or wholesale or being at restaurants or whatever they're doing besides the farmer's market. But again, our goal is to bring foot traffic to the market to buy from you at the market. And I'm not even saying that as like, we're not a percentage sales market. I'm not trying to get every single sale. I'm just, our mission and vision for our social media is to only bring people to the market. Yeah, that's what we're doing.
Our whole mission is to train customers to shop direct from you so that you get the full retail price. I mean, that is our our job in life. That's our stated mission for our farmers markets, is to teach people to rely on farmers markets for their groceries on a regular weekly basis.
Yep.
So we're not going to send them to some other shopping environment. You can.
Yeah, for
totally
sure.
makes sense. But just remember that if that's all you're posting is posts that include those other outlets, and especially that incentivize them to use a different outlet than the market, your market's not going to repost that.
Exactly, yeah.
And really beautiful product shots may seem too formal for us to post. Also, just for yourself and your social media strategies, Gary Vee, who's a big marketing expert, his whole thing is jab, jab, right hook. So, to break that down a little bit, you do friendly, happy relationship building, and then you say, here's how you buy it. You do, here's me, here's my kids, here's us working on the farm. Here's how you buy it. But you need that lead in to get people warmed up to you before you try to hook them.
Yeah. I will say, again, that's what Caitlin's really great at with our markets. She just shows like funny things happening, like staff doing silly things, our uniforms, she's building a relationship. She posted a video of one of the farmers' big trucks just pulling into the market just in the early morning. And it was like, oh, pulling in, like going to start the day. So much interaction. Like it got so many views, this reel.
Yeah,
and I think because people were like, oh, I'm not at the market for this. Like when they're setting up, this is interesting. This is cool. It's a little behind the scenes. It was not a sales pitch.
People
you couldn't
love
even see
behind the scenes.
Behind the scenes stuff was so great. You couldn't even see a product. It was just a truck. I think it barely even said their farm name on it. But it was just cool for people to like feel like they have an in and like you want them to like show them behind the curtain a little bit. And then, there are some other salesy posts that are like posted in between these kind of relationship building posts. But it's really, really valuable. And I feel like it just ups the algorithm and all the things that you have to do on social. So
captures people.
For sure.
Cute, funny posts that express your business's personality, they get way more engagement.
Mm-hmm.
We just had a post that Caitlin did actually where she went kind of inside the tent. She walked down the market, she went inside the tent and showed somebody making pozole and handing it across. That thing's been like viral, right?
Oh my gosh, it's almost at 100,000 views. If you are listening, go on our Little Lily Mercado Instagram and look at our reels. It is like the simplest post. It just has a beautiful song. She's like, come get pozole with me. And it just shows Jorge just putting together a little cup of pozole. And that's it. That's it. And
it does look delicious.
It does look delicious. And his pozole is amazing. But it was very simple. And it was just very like him making it, like him putting it together. So that's a little behind the scenes as well. And it was just wonderful and went viral for some reason. Sometimes I just don't know how that stuff.
I don't get it. I just don't understand. Do we have to make reels? Well, they tell us we do because of the algorithm. The thing about and that was funny because other people reshared it. So remember that too. We're not just talking to you about what your market manager will reshare or what your vendors will reshare if you as a market manager post it, but everybody else reshares, customers reshare, people that love pozole reshare, people love, people that love Jorge.
Yeah, Jorge's friends, yeah.
For sure. So, that's important. Reels, definitely, they tell us up the algorithm, carousels up the algorithm, all those things. But, too, remember that the whole goal of beating the algorithm is to get a huge number of likes. Well, those may be random likes from across the country. What's really important is your local followers' likes and engagement. So don't just follow what the latest influencer tells you is the best way to get people to like your posts or make your posts go viral. Pay attention to what your local followers like and are reposting about you, because that's really the key. You're doing a local business.
Yeah, for sure. Look at the photos and videos that other folks, that your shoppers are tagging you in. What are they taking photos of? Always at our markets, it's the flowers, it's the berries, it's the coconut pancakes, it's the beautiful lemonades with the chili rim. Like, those are the things that the shoppers are really enjoying and they are taking their own photos of at the market. And so take a cue from your shoppers that are actually attending the market and purchasing things. That's kind of who you want to target. And even if your post gets 10 likes and gets shared once, if it got 10 likes from folks that came to the market the next week and bought those berries or got a bouquet of flowers and they shared it to somebody who loves lemonade, who then is going to come visit your market when they're in town next month and buy a lemonade, that's more valuable than even 100,000 people looking at a reel that are not going to come buy a cup of pozole.
Yeah, they're across the country.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah, so definitely
good thing to remember.
It's exciting to have a little, to get a lot of traction on your photos and videos, but really staying in reality and thinking about your business and what is the ROI on this.
Yeah, the actual return on investment, not just the how many eyeballs.
For sure.
It's the right eyeballs.
That's right.
And while you're talking about that, that's a good segue into you want to play fair. So while you're looking at what other vendors are posting and what your market's posting and what your shoppers are posting, if they're reposting your content, make sure you're doing the same. So make sure you're watching what your neighboring vendor is posting and reposting his stuff. If he's saying, come to the market and get my hot sauce, and you're next to him selling cold oats, those guys that are coming to the market may drift over to your booth and buy. So it behooves you to amplify other people's invitations to the market.
Exactly. Yes. I mean, the vendor buddy situation is definitely like one of my top 5 favorite things to just witness at the markets. I mean, I'm not a part of it. They're just buddies with each other. And it's so wonderful when they share each other's posts and they say, or they get home from the market and they're like, oh, I'm having this croissant, like the hot sauce guy. I'm having this croissant. I was just staring at it all day. I'm like finally sitting down after my long day. I love it so much. It's so flaky and wonderful. Like come back on Wednesday and get one for yourself. Just things like that. I mean, how wonderful for them to do that. And a rising tide lifts all boats. It's like just share this information with each other. This is the whole point of farmers markets. You don't see brands that are in grocery stores sharing stories about other brands that are in grocery stores.
True.
Right? They're not even sharing about being in a grocery store physically. So this is the whole joy of a market, is that you get to experience it, whether you're a vendor or farmer or market manager or shopper or staff or volunteer or like a neighboring business. When our neighboring businesses come out and shop at the market, it just like warms my heart. And then I can say, oh yeah, when you're done, shopping the market, go grab a coffee in this coffee shop, or go, check out the jewelry at this fine jeweler down the street, or grab a taco when you're here on a non-market day. Like just kind of building that community via social media is really important and something I think we should all remember as being market people.
I mean, that's what makes markets special, for sure.
Exactly.
Last thing that we'll talk about, consistency, better even than reels. Consistency feeds the algorithm and keeps your followers engaged. That just is how it works. If you only post every once in a while, folks drift off, they start following other people, they start watching out for other people. The magic algorithm thing doesn't show your post to as many people. So posting regularly is important. Don't let perfection get in the way of progress. If you just can't think up the cleverest post in the world, post a picture of somebody eating your product.
Yeah.
If you can't think up the cleverest thing to post a picture of the street sign that identifies where your market is. I mean, don't post terrible stuff to feed the consistency algorithm, but post something as often as you can, even if it's not the most elaborate post ever.
You know what I heard?
You don't have to be an expert. You just have to be a person.
I can't remember who I was talking to at the conference last year, but we were talking about social media. And she said, yeah, when I first started out, every market, I would take 7 photos. She goes, no matter what, I would just say, okay, I got to get my 7 photos. 7 photos of whatever, crowd shot, vendor, staff. And then every day after the market, she would post 1 photo and say, 6 days until the next market. And then on the next day, 5 days until the next market. Here's the day and time and address. 4 days until the next market. Just nothing else. You don't have to come up with a clever anything. It was just a countdown all the way down. And then it was like, good morning, it's market day. And then she would just start all over again and take 7 photos.
I love that.
It was the simplest thing. She goes, my brain didn't have to do very much work. She goes, I just knew what I was going to post every day. And all I did was pick which photo I'm going to post, and it was like if you're taking 7 photos and you're at a market, like a mixed maker market, right? So it's not just farm, but so you take a farm photo and a vendor photo and a non-food, and a farm and a vendor and a non-food, like just mix it up. So easy.
That is brilliant.
How much easier can you get?
How have you not told me that before
right
now?
It just occurred to me right now, just remembering this little conversation. I was like eating an empanada and talking to somebody at the conference. I was probably so tired.
This is another thing that the Intense Conference is good for. It's those random low-key conversations that you get these brilliant ideas. And if you remember them and remember to share them, it can be very handy.
Hey, I shared it in less than a year.
That's right.
But that's a simple consistency.
For sure.
Very simple consistency. That's, running markets is hard. You're very busy. You're dealing with all sorts of things. So if this is a tough spot for you and something hard to keep up on, just simple consistency.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And you had another pro tip hidden in that little story you just told, which is no matter what, tell people where to find you. Yeah. I saw somebody post the other day and someone made a comment and said, well, where are you? And they said, oh, well, if you click this, it'll link to this that'll tell you where I am. Please don't make it that hard for them. Just tell them where you are and when you're going to be there.
Yeah.
You know, that's my mic drop marketing presentation that I'm going to start using at all conferences. I'm going to stand up and say, tell them where you are and when you're going to be there. And then I'm just going to drop the mic and walk away.
That's it.
That's all you really need to know.
Consistent and simple.
That's
yes,
right.
I do say, and if you have an address you can give folks, especially in a comment reply, instead of saying, oh, we're on Date Street from Kettner to Union. It's like people can't figure that out, especially if they're visiting or they're new to the area. So I just say 500 West State Street. Just
help them help the map.
Yeah, and then they just type it in the map, and then they just arrive at your market, and then they just open their wallet, and then everyone's happy.
Exactly. Okay, I think we've covered all the basics.
That's true. Clearly, we could talk about this for 3 more episodes.
That's right.
Well, that was really great information. And just remember, the biggest opportunity of the internet is the spider web that reaches beyond who follows you to who follows them. Posting is silver. Others resharing your posts is golden. Make it easy for us. Help your fans help you. Help us help you. And you, be sure to help the others in your market family so everyone wins.
Thanks for listening today, and thank you to everyone who attends Intense, the Farmers Market Conference, for supporting all the work we do at Farmers Market Pros to support farmers, vendors, and markets. Your conference registrations and online class and consulting purchases support production of the free content that we provide every week, year-round on Tent Talk and in our private Facebook community. The 8th annual Intense, the Multinational Farmers Market Conference, is coming up before we know it. A week from today. In San Diego and online, March 4th, 5th, and 6th, 2024. It's not quite too late to click the register button at farmersmarketpros.com and join us next week.
Thanks for listening to Tent Talk today. Please leave us a review on your podcast app or wherever you listen to Tent Talk. Let us and others know how you're enjoying the podcast. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss the next episode of Tent Talk. Connect with fellow farmers market folks in our private Facebook group, the Farmers Market Pros community. Follow us on Instagram at Farmers Market Pros and find online education and other resources on our website at farmersmarketpros.com. Tent Talk is brought to you by Farmers Market Pros, where passion meets profit. Tent Talk is produced by Leandra Hayes with original music by David Mead. Tune in next week for another great episode.